We want to be at 300 offices, and we want to be in every major metropolitan area, really having a dramatic impact. The goal for us is to save 1 million people from spine surgery. We want to be able to have an impact for people all around the world.
Well, thank you guys. Y'all have been longtime great clients, and I know we've talked before about Genesis Back and Neck and all your exciting things expanding nationally. But I want to just kind of, as we start the new year, I wanted to kind of step back and kind of reflect on kind of where you're going, what you've been through, lessons that you've learned, and hopefully some of the listeners can benefit from your, I'll call it wisdom, but it's earned experience.
So that's a good way to put that.
First of all, tell me what Genesis is. I mean, tell me what you do and kind of where you are right now in Genesis.
Yeah, well, Genesis is a healthcare company that focuses on true spinal decompression. So if somebody has a bulging or herniated degenerative disc and they don't want to go the medical route of pain management that leads to surgery, then we step in and we use a very specific machine that's got, 85 to 90% success rate to avoid the surgery completely. So all we do are treat discs.
How did you guys, I mean, I've always known you guys as being partners, but how did y'all meet? Mm-hmm. How did y'all first decide, hey, maybe, we can buddy up and make this thing happen?
Well, Chad and I went to chiropractic school together. So we've been friends for over 20 years this year. And I've always wanted to do a different type of chiropractic, high volume chiropractic. Chad's always done spinal decompression. Like it's always been his baby. The protocol we used was developed by him. But over seeing thousands of patients in a chiropractic office, the one person that I struggled to help the most was a disc patient. And so, I'm on the phone bending Chad's ear, like, what do we need to do here? What do we need? And so finally we took the things that I know about systems and procedure and marketing and that sort of stuff, all the things that Chad knows about the disc and the DRX and the protocol and how to get those people better. And literally in maybe a 30-minute phone call, I bet, not more than an hour.
Yeah, it was quick.
He and I just kind of unpacked it and we're like, hey, what if we took those things and dovetailed them together? And it just happened. It happened for us more than because of us. But
y'all each had like your separate clinics. Y'all were buddies, and then after chatting about decompression and this particular patient, did y'all just immediately decide, hey, we'll start working together? I mean, how did that evolve?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It happened that quick. We would love
simple.
to say we had our attorneys talk and we looked and but it was like, no, in about a 30-minute conversation, we're like, let's do it. And then we already knew a real estate guy. We looked at stuff that Friday, the second location we looked at, we put a lease on. And then within 45 days, we were seeing patients. So it was almost uncanny. The good Lord just kind of continued to open doors every time we turned around, and it was like it just felt right. And luckily, Chad has a really unique skill set that I don't have any of that, and then probably vice versa. And so it's really complementary what our skills are, what our strengths and weaknesses are. And to this day, 7-8 years later, we've never had a misstep. So
Chad, I mean, there are a lot of different chiropractors out there. A lot of them do decompression services. What makes Genesis Back and Neck different from whatever else other chiropractors are providing?
Yeah, I get that question every time I go to a seminar. They say, hey, you're the decompression guy, so why is your stuff so special? It's like, well, I use a lot of common sense, and I use a machine that's actually designed to physically treat the disc directly. So we're not just strapping you on a table and pulling you, one guy hold your head and one guy hold your feet and walk opposite directions.
And using one of those machines where you turn the crank and pull people apart.
Caleb's over there like this in the background. No, so the only reason it works is because we're able to target a disc in a very specific way that will create a very predictable outcome. And so if you do this in the right environment on the right machine, you can create a difference in that disc. And so when we say, you know, back in the old days, there was few studies on this, but it was like 85, then 86%. I think we're now at 91% success rate, and that's real numbers, and it's predictable at all of our locations across the country. So our standard of care is very high. So the reason it works, I never say anything negative about anybody. You can do what you want, but the reason it works is because it's scientifically proven to do so. We
And
just put it in our incubator.
when you say success rate, how do you measure success here? Is it some improvement? Is it,
Mhm.
at what threshold does it have to reach for you to call that a success?
Well, I tell patients this when they come and see me, I hope I never see you again when we're done. And I know chiropractors hate to hear that, but it's the truth, because if it works, you should be out of pain and be able to live a normal life. Now, if you ask that to a surgeon, he's going to go, I don't know. I got to wait till I ask the patient. Um, it's a verifiable decrease in symptoms. To what degree? I would say 80%. Most of the time, people are 80% or better, and they are able to go and live a life that they didn't think they could have without surgery after being treated with us.
Okay, so you and Caleb connected with a patient or about a patient offering decompression. Y'all been doing decompression for a while. At what point, what was the light bulb moment when you guys decided, hey, maybe we have something here. We should expand beyond just our two clinics and start teaching other clinics about this Genesis protocol and our system?
Well, I'll answer that, but this is an easy one for me because when we started, we never really anticipated more than a single office. It's like, hey, let's create an office that we can get all these people in this area too to help them with disc issues. But having been in practice for, I don't know, 15 years at that point, and see what it takes to run the office that my chiropractic office that we currently have, that I'm deeply proud of. There's a lot of labor, right? So as a chiropractor, I'm selling a commodity that I have to bend over the table to deliver. And I looked up, and after, certainly we don't want to paint a pie in the sky. Chad and I skinned our knees. We had good
Mhm.
weeks, we had bad weeks, good months, bad months. We refine, edit. But as time went on, I started to realize what an impact we were having and being able to help patients that otherwise couldn't be helped by chiropractic, which is, our favorite profession. And then two, the amount of work that I was physically doing was much less. The amount of time that I was investing was much less. And it's like, this is almost too good to be true. Like, you have to be kidding me that we're having this big of an impact. We're helping this demographic of patients, and it's relatively easy. And so, because of that, we're like, we could have another office. It's hard to have another office that's seeing 700, 800 patients a week in a chiropractic office. But this is like, let's open another. And then one night we were having dinner with a dear friend of ours that we both of us went to school with. And he said, why don't we partner together and open up a Genesis inside of my chiropractic office? And we were like, that's a terrible idea. Chad and I were like, that now. And then we had a couple
Yeah, I
more
remember that.
drinks and we were like, you know what? This might work. And so we did. And that really became the model. And that friend told a friend, told a friend, told a friend, and till here we are today. So,
Well, so where are we today? How many you've gone from your two clinics, a number of years ago? How many clinics,
Mhm.
open clinics, do you have now?
Well, we have
around
70 that
70.
are, yeah, 70 that are open. We've got some that are still in onboarding. So I think when you put together all the numbers that are true, we'll have like 81. And then,
81
hopefully
right
this
now or
year.
so, and that number
Yeah,
continues to grow. But you've
it
got
does
them
every
not just
week.
in Texas, you've got them in other states all across the country. Um,
Yes.
so let's kind of peel back, open the curtain a little bit, and talk about some of the
Okay.
challenges. I mean, Going from 2 clinics to 81 clinics is easier said than done. It's great to have that accomplishment, but what are the challenges been? I mean, what have been some of the scaling challenges that you've experienced, and what did you do to try to get over those?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We didn't really know what we didn't know. I mean, Caleb and I have a real unique way of identifying a problem and then finding a solution with a really common sense answer. Like, does that make sense? And we don't overthink a lot of this. We now learn that we hire people to do a lot of the thinking for us that might know more than we do in certain areas. But in the beginning, it was like, let's just keep our head down. Oh, well, now we've got 15 clinics. We need a way for them to work easier. So then we would eliminate a bottleneck, and then we would just find a way to finagle it and make it work. And so I think a lot of it was done very innocently. We didn't know, like, we didn't look at the internet and say, hey, tell me how to do this. It was like, here's the problem. This is an obvious answer. Let's just do that thing. Now, as we gotten bigger, I think we're in 27 states. The challenges now are much larger than they were back then. So now there's a lot more thought that goes into it. But like having people like you and developing our corporate staff and our leadership team, and they have all their own strengths, we're able to look at things. And even though it's a very complex problem that might seem like a big deal, we've got people that systematize it that we can move into, and it's not as big of a challenge as we might think. Even though
Well,
I'm looking at Caleb going, well, man, this is a big deal. He's like, no, they'll handle that. And it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Why am I worrying? So it's been a fun experience. I'll say it's probably the most fun thing I've ever done, seeing this thing come to life.
so I'm a self-professed fan of systems and processes. How do you use processes to try to maintain consistent quality throughout all of your clinics? I mean, what have you had to implement to try to maintain the high quality that's expected from a Genesis location?
Well, I mean that's huge because you talk about like brand continuity, which is super important to Chad and I, and it would go back to starting with the protocol. So Chad's developed a protocol that's not necessarily the manufacturer protocol or industry standard. It's really unique to Genesis, and that's Chad's baby that he's developed. And so we've made sure, and Chad and I wear out the Chick-fil-A analogy. But if you go into Chick-fil-A in any state in the U.S., the chicken sandwich tastes the same. You don't get it with with Philly cheesesteak on it in Philadelphia and with green chili on it in New Mexico. The chicken sandwich is the same everywhere. And so we've done obviously a lot of work with you in order to ensure that we're systematizing that from a contractual standpoint, but also that the way we take care of patients, the way we love on patients, the protocol we use to get them better, how we communicate that with them, and then uh, how we carry out the actual care itself is systematized because we want everyone to have a Genesis experience, not just Genesis outcomes, which we're really proud of, but the experience in and of itself it has that continuity across the board, regardless of what city or state you're in.
I would think that the best place or first place to start to keep that quality care are your chiropractic partners that you partner with in different clinics. What do y'all do to train them or teach them or reinforce your value system?
Well, we have an on-site training that every partner is required to come to. So they come into McKinney, Texas to our corporate office, and we train them there. And we go through everything. Now we have Genesis University, so that's built into our system now to where they can train before they get here. And then they get to Caleb and I, and we get down to the nuts and bolts, and we train their front desk staff and we train their back end staff. So I would say them getting to see an office work live and see the ins and outs of it, and then they can carry that vibe, that experience to their own office. That's been absolutely game changing.
Has there
Yeah.
been like an onboarding that has not gone so well? Maybe you partnered with somebody that you thought was great, going to be great, and maybe things didn't turn out the way they did. that you wanted them to? And what have you done? How has that informed how you vet your potential partners?
We have a mantra now that's just kind of our corporate mantra, that it's tigers only. And so, like I said, the greatest strength, if Chad and I had the rest of the time to just brag, the only thing we would really brag on are our partners. And the quality of these guys are all guys and gals. They're all very successful in their own right. They're all great tigers at business. They have high ethic. They love their families. They take care of people. They're well known in their communities. So that's a blessing. But have we made that mistake? Yes, we early on we've made that mistake with a couple of people. One guy, even not to say that any of these people were bad, but he was just a lot older gentleman and very sweet guy. We're still great friends with him to this day, but he just didn't move at the Genesis speed in terms of technology and innovation and just the speed that Chad and I and our organization now move at. And so it just became one of those things. It's like it's a round peg in a square hole. It was mutually seen that, hey, this is probably not the best fit for either of us. And so as that's gone on, Chad and I want to grow wide, obviously, but we want to grow deep. And so we're really choosy. I would say we've turned down as many offices as we currently have, maybe more, just to make sure because if it's a fit for that practitioner and that partner, and it's a fit for us, then it's going to be a win for the patient, and it's great all the way around. But now we're constantly looking in. Obviously, we do background checks, and most of the people, I would say 95% of our partners are referral. So we don't advertise. It's just a friend of a friend of a friend. And so they're all kind of cut from the same block of wood, which has been very fortunate. But sometimes we find somebody and it's like, this, you're going to hate us or we're going to hate you, or it's just not going to be the most fun. And so we politely, turn those options down.
How do you know when to pull that plug, when to make that decision? I mean, is it, you mentioned it being mutual sometimes, but is it all, more often driven by you, or is it driven by the chiropractic partner?
Yeah, I think go either way, I guess.
It does. It kind of develops on its own. I mean, we've gotten to the point now that we track every kind of metric that's available to track in any business. And if the metrics aren't shaping up, either we're working too much or that guy's working too much, and we both don't like it. And I think a lot of times it's just a mutual thing. It's just not the right fit for them, or maybe they thought it was, and then now it's not. And it becomes very apparent.
So
Yeah, we're the consummate what am I trying to say? Optimist. So we try to see the best in everybody, and it's like there's got to be a way to win. We've got to find a way to win. There's got to be a way to win. But whenever it looks apparent that this is a round peg in a square hole, we're quick to cut our losses and move on. And luckily, we've only done that a very small amount of times, just simply because we take our time on the front end to make sure this is the person we want to be in business with.
one of the things that I've always been very impressed with Genesis Back and Neck is kind of your holistic view of the business of healthcare, from training the clinics and training the staff on how to perform the procedure using your protocol, to training them about the body mechanics, to training them on marketing, and having a system in place to help those partners with the business of chiropractic. How did you start? Obviously, everybody understands the importance of marketing, but you've dialed in a pretty specific form of marketing that's interrelated. What was it that kind of opened your eyes to the success of that kind of model?
Well, I think from a marketing standpoint, from a chiropractic standpoint, we say, hey, if you have a pulse and you have a spine, you're a potential patient of a chiropractor. And so we've done every kind of marketing you could possibly come up with. From a decompression standpoint, we're not looking to get chiropractic patients. right? We're not looking for general back pain. We're not looking for optimizing health and wellness and all that sort of stuff. We're looking for people who have bulging, herniated, degenerative disc and don't want to have surgery. And so that's a smaller amount of people. And so we've done predominantly a digital approach via social media, Google Ads, SEO, those sort of things, in order to find those people that are having those problems, that are facing those fears and are completing those searches, and then being able to graph those people, into what we're doing. So like you said, in the beginning, it was a lot of refinement. We were working with some different stuff and working on the ads and what copy, because we're not looking to just get general back pain patients. We're looking to really get only bulging herniated degenerative disc is all we want to see. The rest of them we want in chiropractic offices around the country. And so that took a little bit of refining. But like you said earlier, we really feel, Chad and I feel like right now we've got it dialed in from all of our marketing arms of our company, which are really, we could brag on those people too. And we're attracting the right people for the right purpose.
So Texas, the Texas Chiropractic Board is a little behind with social media specific rules about marketing. They have general marketing and rules on public communication, which certainly social media is. But there's very few, if any, specific social media rules that govern how chiropractors can market. I don't know that that's true in other states, and I would assume that it's not true in other states. Because y'all are multi-state, almost national, how do you balance, or do you balance? How do you stay abreast or aware of changes in the law across all the different boards of, licensing boards and the different kind of sensibilities and consumer protection laws in the states?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it goes back to the messaging that we do, right? Like Caleb just talked about, we only want one type of patient. We only want you if you have a bulging and herniated disc. So if our ads are directed at that, I don't know that many laws are really going to be really applicable to us, as long as our messaging is good and clear, and you get exactly what you clicked on that ad to get. So it goes back to the very beginning when we were trying to develop these ads about getting this one type of patient. I haven't really seen any ad that we ran that's really been like, hey, you shouldn't run that or say this, because our messaging is so direct and clean. There's just no questioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. And we're not working in the insurance realm, so everything we do is self-pay, cash pay. So in terms of dual fees or bait and switch or any of that stuff, we're not. We don't really feel like we're running any risk there. And then everything that we do is, like Chad said, it's really black and white and straightforward. Now we are looking to expand into Canada and Australia. And we do know that they have some staunchly different laws than the United States. But from what we understand in the United States, we haven't seen uh, any issues where we've had to change the way that we market in individual states, outside of certain, obviously certain states you can call yourself a physician, certain states you can't, different situations like that. But we've just tried to always err on the side of caution to make sure that we're not violating, anything. It's like you can't mess this up. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear and you can read, then you see where we're headed with this, and it's not like we're trying to hide anything. Obviously, I think in Canada and in Australia, there's certain situations with maybe pre and post, or certain situations with using a patient testimonial, but those are bridges that we're learning to cross. So
Yeah, I mean, on the substance of the ads, I have few concerns for you guys. You don't overpromise. They're not sensational types of ads. Um, but as always, it's the mechanism of the ad, whether it be text messaging and making sure we've got consents in place, or email and making sure we've got the required disclosures and unsubscribe type tools. Y'all work with specialists in this area, I know. How is that? How has that changed, or I guess revolutionized, kind of how you market? I mean, you use a specific marketing company. How has that been effective for you?
Well, you're our favorite specialist, for the record. But we do the marketing agencies that we use. The marketing agencies that we use really stay up on a lot of that stuff. And so we're not cold calling, we're not buying lists, we're not spamming people. We're running cold traffic ads to people that decide, hey, based on the quality of the content that I'm seeing here, they have something I'm interested in, and then they opt in. And obviously, from a legal standpoint, you've helped us make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's in terms of consents and those type things. Just because one thing Chad and I are not immune to is the understanding that as we grow, there's potentially, there's greater risk, and then we want to make sure everybody's safe, and all of our partners that are putting their trust in us understand that we don't take those things lightly, that we want to make sure that we are above reproach on all accounts. And so via your help, our marketing agencies help and making sure that we're following those guidelines so that we're not going out and buying lists or spamming people or anything like that.
So you guys
Yeah,
are
that's
both
been a
you guys are both pretty technology forward. I mean, y'all are not shy to embrace technology. What have you done recently in terms of technology that you think gives you a leg up over maybe other practitioners that provide similar types of services?
I'd say the internal way that we communicate is pretty. I mean, I've never heard of it before. I don't know the right word. It's pretty remarkable. You being involved with that, I would have never thought in a million years that I would have had to look so closely at how I communicate with another doctor that I'm partnering with. But I'd say that's one of the pitfalls that people probably don't really realize that they're getting into. So I would say the platforms that we use to communicate internally with doctors, I would say has been the biggest eye-opening thing for me. I mean, thank God you were there to
Yeah.
kind of look at it and steer that ship, because that was a tricky thing in my brain. Like, I couldn't really understand it too well.
Yeah, making sure the platform is HIPAA compliant and
HIPAA.
appropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole HIPAA thing, that is, I think, a very slippery slope in a lot of doctors' minds, but it's very real and it's very serious. And I think what we have now, are the platforms that we communicate with being completely HIPAA compliant, and you check off and letting our doctors know that, hey, we can now actually do all these things in a way that is like Caleb, above reproach, is pretty cool.
Yeah, compliance is important. All right, so where
Yeah.
will you be in 5 years? In the past 5 years, you've grown to 81 clinics. Where are you in the next 5 years?
Our goal, I will just say 3 years, because this is a very recent conversation that we have. So from like now to next and next to ultimate. So ultimate for us is a 3-year lookout always. And so we want to be at 300 offices, and we want to be in every major metropolitan area, really having a dramatic impact. And so the goal for us is to save 1 million people from spine surgery. That's not just a mantra that we throw around, but we're actually tracking those numbers as we get closer. And so we want to be able to have an impact where people all around the world have that understanding. When they see Genesis, they know what it is, they know what we're about, they know the integrity behind the brand and the company and the people that make it up, from the very top to every single technician that actually, putting patients on and off those machines. And so we want to be at 300 offices, and we want to save 1 million people from spine surgery.
So, looking back on the past 7 years, what do you wish you knew then that you know now? What are some of the hard earned bumps and bruises that you could have avoided had you done something different early on?
Caleb, it's been pretty perfect though, hasn't it? Like, it's
No mistakes at all, huh?
Well, the biggest mistake. That's a good. We don't really train our brain to think that way.
Maybe not mistake, but what would have made something easier now or later on in the process, that if you had just put something into place earlier, or done something different earlier, or thought of something earlier, then maybe you could have avoided some heartache in the future.
Well, I think where my mind goes to on this is one of the things that is our greatest strength right now is our leadership team and the people that Dr. Chad and I have attracted that are working with us. And so he and I have a lot of great skill sets, but we leave a lot lacking. And so we have been able to create a team of about 8 or 9 people, I believe, at this point, that are all the ultimate tigers. And so Jessica, which Alicia, like all of these people on our team. And so every time that we found the right person and put them in the right place, doing the right work the right way, our life gets better and the company gets better. And so if I had anything, it would be to maybe had we attracted and put some of those people in those places sooner, would have been a better help. Chad and I tried to do as much heavy lifting as we possibly could for as long as we possibly could. And so maybe moving into bringing on some of those team members quicker, because they've been an incredible blessing, for this company and for Chad and I personally. So
Yeah, I
I
remember.
think. Go
I
ahead,
remember
Wade.
early conversations where it's like, hey guys, y'all really could use some more help. First, because I think we've got, you've got a lot of people interested in coming on board. We've got to start systematizing this process. And you guys can't do it because y'all are seeing patients. Y'all have got other things to do. Let's bring on somebody that can help us build this system that we can continue to refine and make better over time.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing about our leadership team that Caleb mentioned. But I was thinking when you told me we were going to do this podcast, like, how could I relate this to how I've known you? And I tell you right now, most chiropractors do not put very much importance on setting up their legal structure early. Now, we were blessed to do that because I've known you for so long. But I would say probably one of the biggest pitfalls I hear in the industry is guys saying, "Oh, no, this guy's brother's dad, he's a great attorney. He wrote this for me." So I can't say that legally our structure wasn't set up right from the beginning because you've been honest the whole time. But that's probably the biggest pitfall I hear from some of my friends and things that they've done.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time. I think other folks can gain from your experience and your wisdom and your insights. What's your website in case people want to learn more about you?
GenesisBack.com.
Yep.
GenesisBack.com. Chad Glines and Caleb Braddock, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys more than you know.